Well, welcome to another episode of the Just Jamie podcast. And today we are back with Raffaella Brady. And she is always very popular, but I'm very excited to chat this time around because we are coming up on the year anniversary when I sort of challenged her to kind of, think about her personal fitness and wellness. And I thought it would be a perfect opportunity. We are a little less than a month from Thanksgiving and almost a year to our very first chit chat together. And I thought it'd be kind of a good time to revisit everything. So welcome, Raffaella.
Thanks for having me back again.
Of course. Hey, pumpkin. And I wore my pumpkin sweater. So yeah, so we
Very
are,
cute. Very
thank
cute.
you. We are officially, ready to roll. But for those people who I can't imagine, gasp, missed our first couple of episodes, why don't you kind of give them a little bit of a recap of who you are, what you do, and how I was a bully.
Sure. So I'll start off with I've known Jamie for almost 20 years now, maybe more.
I think it might
Yeah,
be
it's been
more,
a
but don't
while.
do the math.
Yeah, so she invited me to come on her podcast almost a year ago, and we were talking about how I'm a mom, a full-time, I have a full-time job, and during us just chit-chatting back and forth on how I balance being a mom, full-time job, all that, we got to talking about myself in general and my physical health and how I've let that kind of slip through the cracks and
Mm-hmm.
haven't been taking care of myself. And she challenged me to start looking at how I can be more healthy and just be a better person for myself in general, health wise. So I took her up on the offer, and I am now happy to say that it's become part of my life. I go to the gym like 4 or 5 times a week, when as much as I can get in, and I change the way I eat. I am down almost 40 pounds since January. So it's been great. Trying to figure out how I can get better at myself every day.
Ah,
So
well, because she can't be a better person. The only thing that maybe there was room for improvement was on the physical, because she is, anybody who knows you knows they are like super lucky. She is, just an angel. I wanted to get into, so when we chatted, you waited until January 1st for sort of that mental, I needed a reset. If you could talk, and there's no right answer, if you could talk to Raffaella last November, would you just say just start? Would you still recommend that you start in sort of January, new year, new you? Are you like a little bummed you waited, or was it perfect timing? And somebody who's watching this, just what would you say?
I think I would have started back then, honestly. Like I think I was a little intimidated
Mm-hmm.
to start in November. But I think it would have just boosted me that much more if I
Mm-hmm.
started back then. I
And
would
that
say
is the right
start.
answer, by the way. No, I'm just kidding. I said there's no right answer, but that is the right one. No, I'm just kidding. But
No, I would say just
yeah,
start when you can. Like I don't think there needs to be a set date.
right.
Like for me, I think I started in January just because like I was nervous about the holidays. I was
Mm-hmm.
nervous about changing everything about my lifestyle with everything going on with the holidays. And I'm not gonna, I love food. So like, I didn't want to like change my eating habits,
Yeah.
right then and there. So,
But
so
I
yeah.
think that's why I wanted to talk certainly now, because I did an episode, and I'll kind of link our episode and then the Thanksgiving one I did. That Thanksgiving, we always act like the holidays are a surprise, but we can know exactly when it's going to hit. I think to myself, so you didn't stop being a mom, you didn't stop going to work, but you were able to make those tweaks. Most people gain a few pounds during the holidays. So I think when you wait until January, now you've got everything you wanted, and it's not all about weight. We'll get into the wellness later, but the idea is that you're exacerbating the situation and making January now even more pressure. So I think if you just make the decision to, I'm going to start today, whatever that looks like, what are some of the challenges that you thought you were going to have for people who missed your answer last time? And what were the challenges you really had? Like, you perceived this big giant thing. You were going to have to say goodbye to your kids, right? Never see your family again, never have a yummy meal. What was the reality when you really broke it down?
Um, I think just trying to work it in, like trying to
Mhm.
work in the workouts, trying to figure out, how do I change what I'm eating? Those were the biggest things I was nervous about.
Okay.
But I, in the end, they weren't as bad as I thought or they
Okay.
were going to be.
So did you tiptoe in? Did you make the healthy substitution? Hey, I'll stop eating this altogether, or did you just have a little less of it? Literally talk to us like we're 2 years old. I think that really helps. People are imagining the worst, right? They hear I want to talk about lifestyle versus diet. Diet, we always think I've got to drop this. It's all about deprivation. I have to fit into X, Y, or Z. But you're doing it for the big picture, the overhaul of life. So that even seems more daunting. But where'd you start making the cuts?
Um, well, I started with Weight Watchers. I feel like that really helped me in terms of figuring out, what I can and cannot eat in a day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, I, I've, used to be a Weight Watchers member years ago. Everything fell through the cracks, obviously, with how busy life got, and always telling myself like, oh, I'll get back to it.
Right.
So I kind of picked the habits back up. And it's about portion control. It's not even
Mm-hmm.
about like cutting things out
Yep.
completely, and like just balancing what you're eating. I'm not going to go and have a giant piece of cake if I'm having like 3 glasses of wine. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like I'm going to substitute maybe having 1 glass of wine and a slice of like a little sliver of cake instead. And if I know I'm going to be doing something like that earlier in the day, I'm not going to go and like, eat a full bagel sandwich and, at lunch have like a chicken parm or something
Yeah.
like that. I'm going to eat like a fruit for breakfast, or I'm going to eat boiled eggs for breakfast. And then I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to have like a very small salad for lunch, or, like turkey, rolled up with a pickle, something
Yep.
like that. Like I just have to like figure out what makes sense throughout the day, and then
Mm-hmm.
also look at the long run of the week. Like if
Yep.
I'm going to have things going on Saturday and Sunday, I know I'm not going to overindulge during the week.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like balancing what I'm doing, what I'm eating, and getting the workouts in.
Yeah, I think that is such a good point because just the way Thanksgiving is on our calendar, so might be your sister's birthday or your parents' celebration or something for your husband or the boys. So if like you said, you're going to have all sorts of yummies on the weekend, or maybe there's a potluck at work and you really want to participate, then you might nip it in the bud on the weekend. But I think a lot of personal responsibility has to be on it instead of like, it just got away from me. Well, plan accordingly. If you have your work schedule and you never miss a deadline, why do you allow, not you, but why does one allow everything else to get away from you in the personal when you manage your work schedule just fine? Because I think that's such a great thing. You've got a cookie bake, which my family always benefits from. It's Andy's favorite day of the year, I think. But you and your sister do a big cookie bake. You'll know that's coming up sometime mid to late December. You're either going to plan accordingly of how to handle that day, or maybe do something a couple days before and a couple days after, but you're not going to cancel the cookie bake, which is, I think, in people's head, they're like, well, there goes my fun. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that's totally what it is. Like, I used to we do this cookie thing every year, and I would sit there and literally have to try every single cookie,
yes,
maybe two of every cookie. But
of
now I
course.
know, like maybe I'll
Right.
have one cookie, or I will have half of, one of each, or whatever, like it is. Like I'm not
Mm-hmm.
gonna sit there and overeat or
Right.
overindulge and have every
Right.
single cookie. And or space it out, like have one cookie one
Mm-hmm.
night, one cookie another night. Like it's things like that now have come into my head and been ingrained. So I don't think it's gonna go anywhere.
Is it
Hopefully.
easier? Because that's the thing, right? Like now it's part of you for almost a year now. So it's much more automatic. And whether you name names or not, but like what was your family's overarching? Because I've told the story before that when I started minding my health and what I was eating, my dad was still with us and I was staying at my parents' house because I had sold my house in New Jersey. I was still working in Manhattan. Andy lived in Virginia. And my parents for sure thought I had an eating disorder because I was watching what I was eating and I went to the gym and they were like ready to, have a study about me or something. Because they didn't know what to make of it. And so we kind of laugh about it now, but what has the family and the friends have you come across any sort of like, oh, raff this or raff that? Because sometimes it comes across people aren't exactly all that supportive because now you're doing the hard work they wish they could do. And maybe you shouldn't say it out loud, but I'm too old to care. So go.
No, I've had people, I've had the good comments where it's like, "Oh, you look great,
Hmm.
fabulous, whatever," and then I've had like the little snarky ones where it's like, "Oh, look at you, look, you've lost all this weight,"
Hmm.
and now like kind of like I'm jealous, like
Yep.
straightforward. They've said they're jealous, so it's like, well, I'm doing this for myself,
Yep.
and I'm happy with the way things are going for me, and I'm sorry that I don't know how else to help you, but
Well, and
um
those people who say it, are they also saying, "Hey, text me your meal plan," or yeah, exactly. So that's the thing, is that they just, and that's why like I'm hugely against a lot of these, pharmaceuticals to lose weight, because
totally.
there's a segment of the population that no doubt is in need of that. But when you are a healthy young woman who just simply, needs to make better choices, myself included, then everybody would like that panacea, right? The magic make a wish, and poof, it's done. But generally, like everything else in life, it takes hard work. Sorry, it's a bummer, but nobody wants to hear that, and nobody wants to go to the gym with you 5 days a week. They don't want to, do all the extra. So, do you find that going to the gym, now the boys are back to school, you had over the summer, how have you had to tweak when the practicalities of wrestling and football and soccer and all these things, how do you manage it?
I honestly just try to balance it. I try to figure out like, okay, today's the night or tonight's the night that I have to, drop off at football. So let me drop off and then go to the gym,
Mhm.
whether it's a class or get on the treadmill or whatever it is. I try to squeeze in the gym where it fits, no
Right.
matter what it is. So, yeah, it's just a matter again of looking at my schedule and figuring out where I could fit it in.
Now, what have the
Um,
boys been saying about, because now it's been almost a year, do they make any comments about how you've stuck with it, or have they noticed? Do they say anything? I know they're teenage boys, they might not.
Yeah, I mean, actually, Ryan, my older ones, said a couple things here and there where he's like, "Oh, you're going to the gym again today? Oh, like the one day he even said, he's like, Mom, you're looking good." Like,
Mhm.
so it's
Yeah.
sweet little things like that that keep me
Well, because
going
they
too.
they work really hard at their sports too, and
Yeah,
training and
yeah,
things like that. And I think we talked about it in the last episode, where maybe you now have a new appreciation for how hard it is for him to go try to run, and what Aiden's doing with football and wrestling and everything. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's,
yeah.
like they're
It's not as
young.
easy
Yes,
as it
they've got
looks.
yeah, they've got that on their side, but it's a lot.
Yeah, yeah, it is
Well, good.
definitely not as easy as it looks for sure.
No, no, no. That is for sure. So, in sort of doing this now again for almost the year, what has been the thing that you're most proud of? Just you, Raf, regardless of the boys, your husband, anything, just you.
I think just the way I feel. Like I have mentioned it before. Like I was feeling horrible. Like I was feeling crappy, not only physically but like mentally. Like I was so down on myself and
Okay.
hated looking in the mirror.
Mhm.
But I was having the issue with the acid reflux. I don't have it at all anymore. Like I haven't had acid reflux in almost a year, which is great. Um so it's just the way I feel in general is what I'm most proud of, and sticking with it,
Right.
sticking with the
Right.
whole routine. I didn't, you never know if you're gonna do it,
Hmm.
so I think this is the longest I've ever gone.
Well, we
So
talked about that. You were on Weight Watchers twice before, and I think you had said you had lost like 25 to 40 pounds each time. When you think about that, it's 80-pound swing.
yeah,
And I mean, it's hard to say, but like it's reality. And, because at my heaviest, I was probably 50 pounds heavier than I am now, and don't remember doing it. And it was like I woke up one day, but it wasn't that fast on or off. But those are kind of the realities that if you had stuck with the first time, you wouldn't have had to do this. But what feels different this time than last time when you had success? Why is it different mindset, or you weren't a mom then, or you're just sick of the yo-yo?
I think a little bit of everything. I think I
Okay.
just the way I feel, the yo-yoing definitely. I think I just I'm proud of myself. I'm just happy with the way things are going. I look forward to going to the gym. Like I
Okay.
look forward to release. It's also a stress reliever,
Yeah.
right? Like I just go just to relieve stress,
Hmm.
and it just helps mentally, physically. I can't see going back. I think I'll become literally depressed if I go back.
So before, when you were just doing the maybe calorie counting, you didn't couple it with fitness last time, right? Or I know
Um,
you used to do
I think
kickboxing, or was it
yeah,
just
yeah.
sporadic?
So that's
Okay.
yeah. So I had been doing kickboxing once with it, and then I did do a local gym. It was
Okay.
like just classes, another time with it. So I always did kind of pair it with
Okay.
working out. And I think that's what helped too, right? Like I think I tried it other times. I tried Weight Watchers other times, but I didn't pair it with the
Ah,
working out. So I think, you know, just trying to eat healthy but not being physical, I wasn't losing as much, and I think that also deterred me from keeping it going.
yep.
So I think that's the key for me for sure is being physical and
Well,
also
people talk about the endorphins, right? Whether it's that line from Legally Blonde that everybody, exercise, makes you happy. It releases endorphins. Happy people don't just kill their husbands. But like it's true. There is something about that endorphin dopamine hit that it feels like it's this nebulous concept, but when you've already tried it without it, and there is maybe that's that missing link. So I'm always thinking about the person who's watching this who's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So she did it, but for the reminders, your father-in-law passed away. You've got lots of stuff going on at work. You've also traveled for work. There's a lot of things pulling at you, never mind, the fact that you're a wife, a mom, somebody's daughter, your sister, you're doing all the things. But whoever's watching this, like you've had not the easiest of years, and yet you still turn to that because it gave you, I said, that thing that maybe you didn't know you were missing the first couple rounds of doing it.
yep, totally.
Yeah.
That's exactly that.
And did you hit a plateau? Like, was there a part that you were like, I'm stuck at, whether it's a number or like, and if you did, how'd you get over it? Because that's
Yeah.
another thing that derails most things. Ugh, the first 10 pounds was easy, but then you're stuck and forget it. Most people bail at the plateau.
Yeah, I mean in general. So in the past times that I've done it, I've lost the 30 pounds, 40 pounds probably within 3 months, right?
Yeah.
So this time it's taking a lot longer.
Okay.
Um, and that was another thing I was nervous about, right? Like knowing that I'm older now, is not gonna be as quick. Like, is that gonna like stop me from everything?
Mm-hmm.
But no, like I think now I've kind of like mentally prepared myself and said like I gotta stick through it and I gotta
Mm-hmm.
keep going to get to that point that I want to get to. So
You're doing it
um
right. Where you always hear, if you do it right, you're not supposed to lose 10 pounds in a week. We can all stop eating and drinking and, we'd see a number on the scale, but the minute then you look at a glass of water, it's back. You're actually doing it the right way, which is why it's a little bit more of a slog.
so I've hit plateaus here and there.
Mhm.
There's been 2 weeks where it's like, oh, I've only lost, half of a pound, or
Right.
I haven't lost anything at all, or I gained a pound. So it's like, it's been back and forth, but
But it doesn't
ultimately it
consume your life, right? You
no,
don't
no, no.
wake up thinking about calories. You don't wake up thinking about inches. Because I think that's another misnomer, right? When you're on the healthy journey lifestyle and everything, that it then becomes all consuming. But that's not it. It just becomes like putting on your pants or taking a shower is just who you are now, right? Without putting words
Yep.
in your mouth. Okay.
Yeah, no, totally.
Okay.
It's become my lifestyle. It has.
Right. So when you decided to make it the lifestyle, have you made yourself a different dinner? Do you do anything differently, or you just kind of eat a little bit less?
A little bit of both. So like it
Okay.
depends on the meal. Some nights I'll leave off the certain sauce or whatever, or I'll substitute like the pasta for like zucchini noodles.
Okay.
Or I'll take less of a portion,
Right.
whatever it is, or then I'll have my cheat days where like they want to order burgers and I'm like, okay, I'll have a burger too.
Mhm.
Like I'm not gonna deprive myself from that. Or if we are grilling at home, I'll do a turkey burger versus them doing a regular burger, and
Right.
I'll go with the low carb bun over a regular bun that, they're using. So
Sure.
it's a little bit of both. I just gotta adjust, depending on what we're doing.
Right. And when you travel for work, because I know you've been on a couple 2 or 3 night stays all over the place, is that your time to relax? Are you eating differently? Are you still hitting the hotel gym? How do you handle the away?
So a lot of my work is physical in general, so I
Mm.
don't go to the gym. I will get those, workout points in general, for doing whatever I'm doing, setting
Right.
up a booth, whatever. In terms of food, I try to still watch what I'm eating.
Mhm.
Like I'll, maybe have just a little bit of the appetizer, or I will order like a fish or a grilled chicken instead of like, anything that's
Right.
overly fatty or crazy in terms of like I'm not going to go for the fried chicken versus,
Right. Right.
grilled chicken. So I try to balance it a little bit.
Now, when you
I
go to
don't
the
I don't
grocery,
restrict myself completely either though. So
mhm,
I'm not like
right.
completely like, oh, I can't have that.
Right. Right. Well, and I think that's what, again, a lot of people are thinking. They're like, oh, yeah, then I can never eat anything again. I think the more you repeat it, that it really isn't about deprivation at all.
No.
For me, intermittent fasting, I eat what I want just in a tighter window. John, my brother-in-law, lost, I think it was something like 60 pounds. You haven't seen him. You'll see him
Wow,
the
that's
day before
awesome.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
He was doing a weight loss challenge at work, and I don't really think he did it the healthiest way, but now maintaining it going forward will be really interesting. Because I think when you go to the grocery store, and I know you do your online ordering, but three-quarters of the grocery store, or actually 90% of it, is no good. You
Nope.
stick to like certain aisles, and it narrows
Yep.
down where you can go wrong, because if you don't go down those aisles,
Well, they say the outer perimeter, right? Like
oh
you're
yeah,
just supposed
yeah.
to stick to the outer perimeter of the grocery store and, not really go down the aisles.
But and of course, like we were in Kroger the other day, because I go like once a year ceremonially, and I was like, "Why is the bakery on the outer rim?" I was like, "They're messing with my mind." But even just the way we've caught up, when I go to visit mom, we'll do a catch up, and now we do it doing like a 4 or 5 mile walk. The last time, and we still get our visit in. It saves us money. We're not eating out. It's calories, and it's been a fun thing. And it's not like we've missed our catch ups. We just do
Yeah.
it differently. So
You're just missing out on my chicken parm. No, I'm kidding.
listen, it's something that I have had to deal with, and I don't like it. So if you feel guilty and you want to make some chicken parm, I will give you the dates that I am back in New Jersey. So no pressure, everyone. Okay, so I want to go through balancing. Da, 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 da. Now into the holidays. We talked about it a little bit. Whether you're hosting or going somewhere, will you either just make a healthier alternative for something? How will you handle alcohol during the holidays? Will you get in extra workout? We're going into retail. We used to call it the big six, right? We're going into the big eight for eating. What's your game plan?
I plan to stick with what I'm doing now, honestly. Like I definitely, I don't want to deprive myself,
Mhm.
but I don't want to overindulge.
Mhm.
I'm gonna, balance it out depending on the week I'm gonna have. So if I know I'm going to a party or like a gathering on the weekend, I'll during the week I'll be very good with what I'm eating.
Right.
Grilled chicken, salad, fruits, vegetables. I don't drink during the week at all, so
Right.
I don't have to worry about that. And if I did drink, I wouldn't, I'd cut back for
Mhm.
sure. And then I will definitely keep with my workout schedule. Maybe add in a day or two if I have to, depending again on what the week looks like. But I'm not going to deprive myself. I
Right.
will have that cookie or that piece of cake, but not maybe as much or as big. I used to not care how big the slice was,
Mhm.
or now I'm going to look over and kind of dictate how big my slice is going to be.
Right, exactly. And I think that's the thing. Maybe it's just in this country, we treat the holidays like they are this immovable object that we either are all in or we don't celebrate them at all. And I think they're just in the summer, barbecues and beer and parties and concerts. You love live music, and it's just like that is to me just as big a thing to navigate. Where like I love how, we have the get out of jail free, like, oh, it's the holidays, like, oh, all right, don't you
Yeah.
worry about it. And then the enablers sort of start, and I'm like, well, why is it any different? We know it's coming. So I just think this kind of proves the point that if you go in with a game plan, like we said, I think on that last one of my episodes, that I was like, a musician rehearses and they don't just go out on stage. So you have to do the work. So it just is second nature when it comes around.
Yeah, and then also like another little trick that I learned was like if you're going to a party, right?
Mhm.
Like maybe there won't be the healthiest of like foods. Maybe you bring something that you'll eat,
Yep.
like a vegetable platter
Mhm.
or, an appetizer that's not fried or,
Yep.
heavy in batter or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Bring something that'll work for you.
100%. Did you treat yourself to like something special, a dress when you hit a certain number? Because let's be honest, that's part of the fun, right? Is there anything that didn't fit that was a favorite that now you can get right into? What was the fun part?
Yeah, honestly, there's a ton of clothes that I've purchased throughout the years that didn't fit, but I didn't want to return because I'm like,
Right.
I'll get into it at some point. Or there's clothes that I had that, I outgrew,
Hmm.
and now actually fit and I love wearing again.
Yeah.
And then there's also clothes that I've just started recently buying that I'm like, oh, this actually looks good on me that I would
Hmm.
have never bought, a year ago
Right.
and worn. So it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that,
Yep.
and I haven't figured out what I'm going to get myself yet to reward myself, but I do think that's a good idea.
Well, I mean, and I've always done it with like work promotions. I think I've mentioned it before. My watch, and I have a bracelet, a got the Hermes belt when we were on our vacation for our 20, whatever. But it's just when I look at those objects, it's not so much about a weight or anything. It's just it means something. So whether it is a dress or something like that, that every time you put it on, and I was speaking to Mandy Davis on an episode, just like a certain perfume can sometimes like make you feel like a little of a badass or something's really sweet. It's just the reward, the physical manifestation. I guess you look a certain way, but sometimes it's nice to be like, ooh, this is my thin coat or whatever, even though it's not about the pounds, but there's something about that thing, let's be honest.
Yeah, yeah, I have to figure out what that thing is, so I'll
Yes.
let you know when I figure
Oh,
it
good.
out.
Yes, you can update us. Okay. So holiday treats. Okay. So I know dates and cheese. There's some things like I didn't realize the date. It's something that you can use in place of sugar and things like that. So I think also doing a little deep dive and having some things in the house that, again, when you want something a little sweet, it doesn't have to always be the cakes and the cookies. We started making our own bread because trying to find a healthy bread is difficult. Is there one thing that you want to start getting into that you haven't had time yet or in that next chapter?
Yeah, I think the whole date thing actually is something that is interesting to me. I was
Hmm.
actually at a store the other day and it was like a nut and like candy store or whatever, and I just happened to like walk in to look around, and they had like a whole section of like different types of like date concoctions, I
Right.
guess.
Yes. Yes.
I guess would represent other types of candy or like would substitute for
Right.
different types of candy. So that I found very interesting, and I was like,
Hmm.
maybe I should try doing something like that. And I actually was talking to one of my coworkers. She's done stuff with dates, and she
Hmm.
said it's actually something she likes to do. So, be something I might consider.
And it's sort
Also,
of
like,
empowering. Sorry to interrupt, but it's sort of empowering, right? Like when you get into the lab, if you will, and start doing it yourself, that yes, bread you can make for 40 cents. So yes, you're saving money. But the idea that there's no unpronounceable, some bread has like 25 ingredients, but it really should have four. So there's just certain things. And Andy made his own butter the other day. I don't know what we're doing over here. Yeah. I had no part in it. I was like, I think your butter's done. Like, I don't have the patience for that. But it is kind of fun to, just like I said, get in the lab a little bit.
yeah, I think another thing I want to try is like the whole using bananas to make like ice
Hmm.
cream.
Yep.
Haven't tried that yet, which I'm a huge ice cream person. I love frozen sweets, like that's my
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm.
So I definitely want to try that. I actually I think I told you about this. I was doing I take like grapes and then I wash them and I'll put sugar-free jello on it and throw them in the freezer. And then they come out and they're kind of like little like ice pops, like little like icy treats. Yeah. So
And I think that's like, kind of sharing these things are always a good idea because, you know, social media, that's, I have to say, like once you go, the algorithm works to your advantage in the sense that once you like look at one date recipe, you will have more date recipes than you know what to do with. All of a sudden suggested for you will be everyone. It'll be Andy churning his own butter. It'll be like, it's kind of fun that you don't have to try all that hard to find the recipes. They will find you.
yeah.
And
Yeah, and there's so many that I've saved on my phone that I haven't even had a chance to like dive
yeah,
into. So
yeah. And I think that's the fun of it, whether the boys want to do it for, with you or you just kind of do it on your own. I think it takes back a little bit of the power, if you will. You know what I mean? Where like, instead of, well, I only can buy what's at the market, or do
yeah.
you take it, try it a little
Yeah.
bit more? Is anybody else in your family getting on it? Is anybody, or is it just kind of party of one so far?
So I think it's just a
Mm-hmm.
party of one.
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to get my dad on a healthier kick, so
Yeah.
hopefully I can influence him.
Hmm.
Um, so we'll see. I'm trying.
Well, I think it's you're a great role model for it because also you're happy, or you've always been a happy person. But the idea that like you've seen, like these really positive things and you're not deprived. Like it's really, and it's a lot of hard work, don't get me wrong, but it's not like you're doing all the hard work and one day it'll pay off. It's already paid off in spades. So
Yeah.
I think that's pretty huge. So well, good. I'm so glad. And like I said, I always knew you could do it, but I'm glad that it's part of like the long term, and it's not to fit into a certain dress. It's not to go to a wedding. It's not to do anything in particular. It's for the long haul because you're too young to have health issues. You know what I mean? And the idea that you've taken control just makes me happy.
Thank you.
Because
I
they
know
was
I have you to thank for sure.
well,
So
no, it's all you. I might have led the horse to water, but you drank. Or I would have just shoved your head in it. No, I'm just kidding. As people get an insight to what it's like to actually be friends with me. Well, good. Well, thank you so much for hopping on. And like I said, and I know you had sent an update while you were on vacation, but what about the people who are, on vacation, it's too hard. Did you do anything when you guys were away? A little help, a trick that you could pass on to somebody?
um yeah, I mean, I just like kept my spirits going with, I have to keep active, and
Hmm.
I again wasn't restricting myself to anything in particular. I would have the treats here and there, have a drink here and there, but I wasn't like overindulging.
Hmm.
If we went out for ice cream, I would have a smaller cup than my usual like medium size, like I
Sure.
wouldn't go crazy. Just having a taste of something was enough for me. So
Right.
I don't think you need to like, overstuff yourself. So
Because I think it's a lot of, I don't know, I just think it's BS when somebody's like, oh, it's going to ruin my vacation, and
yeah.
my husband and boys won't enjoy it, or my whoever you guys went to Nashville for your birthday, like I mean, everybody still had fun. I think people who want to find an excuse will, and those who don't will figure out a way to still actually enjoy their life. I love the fact that you're on the other side of it now, and you see that it's hard work, but it's not impossible. And you still probably laughed a little during the year and still ate. You didn't waste away. You weren't in prison. Like people imagine it as this like awful thing, and then once you get it, this is that easy.
Yeah, it really is. It's just again a matter of balancing things and
Mhm.
portion control and moving. Just move your body.
Well,
Like that's a huge thing. Even like again on vacation, like it was we would go for walks on the beach and I actually found it
mhm.
relaxing. Like I didn't, it's not like it wasn't torture. It
Right,
wasn't,
right.
it was actually beautiful to be on the beach, early in the morning or later at night and
Mhm.
just watching the waves and, walking. So
Do you
that,
know how many steps roughly you were getting this time last year versus what you're doing now? Any idea? Or
yeah, I mean, I think I was last year, no joke, probably if I made 2,000 steps a day, like that was, the tops. I
Raffaella.
know. And now it's like I'm at least hitting 10,000 a day. So
And
yeah.
it's like
I mean, I do have my off days. I do have my days where I'm just hitting like 4 or 5,000, like not maybe not even.
right.
But for the majority, I'm trying to hit like close to 10 a day.
But think about that, right? Like when you were at, let's say, 2,500 or three and eating a certain way and eating later and snacking, like that is like a terrible combo where like I finished the Joanne liquidation project. I was unloading trucks. I was all over the place zooming around. And then when it ended, like all of a sudden my steps went down and I was like, okay, well clearly I was getting paid to move before and now I must move about the cabin on my own. And I had to kind of come up with like now I'm doing 75 hard, which is 2 workouts a day. It's not that hard. A walk outside for 45 minutes counts. Where I'm like,
Yep.
it's hardly like cry me a river. It's not that difficult to do, but I would find maybe I'd be out for 10 minutes or just walk the dog real quick. And I was like, no, you can do this. And I think sometimes, I don't know, kind of holding the mirror up, like that's part of the reason I love the podcast is I almost do this, put it on record for myself because I can't say it and not do it because that's just like hypocrisy at its greatest. So I think if I want to hit I was just in a 20,000 step challenge a day with another person. If she only got 8, I had to get 12. And she was always an awesome partner, but it was, oh, now I needed to hit this benchmark. It was somebody other than just me. So sometimes if you find yourself in a rut, like when you, like your coworker, I'd be like, hey, Raff, how many steps? You get into a little bit of a competition. Cause sometimes that's what you need just to get started, So I would just advise anybody, I don't care, just DM one of us and we'll step with you. So I think those are the kind of fun things that where social media can be a good thing. So not the 50 burpees a day I'm doing, by the by, which
that's crazy. I think that's one of my most hated exercises is burpees.
Oh, I can't. 100%. And I'm horrible. Some people film themselves doing it. And I'm like, oh, no one needs to see that. Like, no one. It is, it's basically me falling on the floor and dragging myself back up. So, but I said I would do it. So like when I was doing the 22 push-ups a day for like veteran suicide awareness, like, how do you chicken out when there are people who like fought for your country? And so that would be my thing where I needed something bigger than me. I needed, call it a guilt trip or whatever it was. I'm like, you can do 22 push-ups, Jamie, because there are people who didn't come back from service. So I was like, oh, okay. And then I did it where like by the end of the month, 22 push-ups was no big deal. But in the beginning I was like, oh, whining. So I'll let you know about the burpee thing.
Yeah, keep me posted. I'm interested for sure.
How are you? You can join.
No, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
Damn it. Okay. All right, my love. Well, I will see you in a couple of weeks. And thank you for always being raw and honest. Letting people know that it is better on the other side.
For sure.
Yay.
And don't wait. Just jump into it.
See, which I don't know who might have said that to you last year. Like, why wait till January? I don't remember who said that, but I don't know. I don't know. It's just this mystery person. All right. Well, love you bunches. Say hey to everybody for me.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.